Have you ever stood in front of the mirror in the morning and wondered why your shoulders look smaller? Your arms feel weaker, and simple everyday tasks seem to tire you out so much faster than they used to. George Miller just turned 60 this year. He lives with his wife in a quiet suburban neighborhood in the United States, where mornings often begin with soft sunlight coming through the window and the familiar smell of coffee. After many years of working, George has entered a calmer chapter of life, moving at a slower pace, spending more time with his family and paying closer attention to his health. He does not have any serious medical conditions, but like many people at 60, George has started to notice that his body is no longer as strong and flexible as it once was. That was the moment his story of change truly began. George used to believe this was simply a natural part of aging, that after 60, everyone has to slow down. But a quiet sense of unease stayed with him. He noticed that climbing stairs took more effort. Standing for long periods made him tired. And each morning he woke up feeling less flexible than before. One question kept repeating in his mind. Was he simply getting older? Or was he slowly losing strength that he might still be able to keep? A few days later, while walking around his neighborhood, George ran into an old friend. This friend was older than him, yet walked with confidence and steady steps. They sat down on a bench and talked about family and life after retirement. When George shared that he often felt tired and sore, his friend smiled and said something very simple. Getting older is not the scary part. Losing muscle is. And muscle is something you can hold on to. That sentence stayed with George. At his next routine checkup, he brought up the conversation with his family doctor. The doctor was not surprised. He explained that after 60, if people do not pay attention to nutrition and physical activity, muscle loss can happen quietly over time. The important thing, he said, is that this process can be slowed down and even improved with the right changes. George's first change began in the evening. In the past, he often ate a very light dinner, sometimes just drinking hot tea before going to bed. His doctor explained that nighttime is when the body is most likely to lose muscle if it does not get enough protein. George was advised to add a slow-digesting source of protein before sleep. Plain Greek yogurt was the simplest option. At first, George did not expect much, but after just a few weeks, he noticed deeper sleep and less stiffness when he woke up in the morning. His doctor explained that the casein protein in Greek yogurt helps feed the muscles throughout the night. It was a small habit, but it helped George believe that he could still do something meaningful for his body. Later, George began to look more closely at his main meals. He used to avoid beef because he worried about his heart. But during the nutrition consultation, the doctor explained clearly that the issue was not beef itself, but choosing the right cuts and eating the right amount. Lean beef provides high-quality protein, iron, and vitamin B12, all of which are important for muscle recovery and reducing fatigue in older adults. George began eating lean beef 2 to 3 times a week, choosing cuts with less fat and preparing them in simple ways. After some time, he noticed that he could walk longer distances and spend more time doing household chores without feeling as exhausted as he used to. Each morning, when he went out to run errands or stopped by a local coffee shop, George noticed that many older adults in the United States had a habit of eating berries. Blueberries, strawberries, raspberries. At first, he thought it was just a personal preference, but his doctor explained that these berries are rich in antioxidants, which help reduce inflammation and protect muscle fibers from age-related damage. George began adding berries to his breakfast, mixing them with yogurt or oatmeal. There was no sudden change, but his body responded slowly and positively. On colder days, George could clearly feel a dull ache in his muscles and joints. When he mentioned this to his doctor, the answer was chronic low-grade inflammation, something very common in older adults. The doctor advised him to pay closer attention to the types of fats he used every day. From that point on, George switched to using extra virgin olive oil. He drizzled it over salads and used it in light cooking. Olive oil helps reduce inflammation and supports both muscle and heart health. Over time, the soreness gradually decreased. It did not disappear completely, but it was enough for George to notice the difference. Then George looked at his plate and realized that dark leafy greens had not been getting enough attention. His doctor explained that vegetables like spinach and kale help improve blood flow, provide magnesium, and support proper muscle contraction. They do not just make muscles stronger, but help them work more efficiently. George began eating vegetables more regularly, not forcing it, not being extreme, just building a habit, and he noticed that his body felt more flexible, and his movements became lighter and easier. Among the foods George trusted most, eggs were always a familiar choice. Easy to cook, easy to eat, and easy to digest. Eggs provide complete protein and leucine, an amino acid that plays an important role in maintaining muscle. His doctor said that for most people over 60, 1 to 2 eggs a day are safe and beneficial. Finally, there were fatty fish, salmon and mackerel, familiar foods in many American households. The omega-3 in these fish helps reduce inflammation, supports muscle recovery, and keeps the body flexible. George ate fish twice a week, simply and consistently. Looking back at George Miller's journey, it is clear that he did not change everything in one day. He changed little by little, guided by his doctor's advice and by listening to his own body. And it was these small changes that helped him regain a sense of stability and strength he once thought was gone. This story is not meant to say that aging can be reversed. It is meant to remind us that aging can still be strong. If we take care of our bodies the right way, familiar foods and simple habits, when practiced consistently, can make a powerful difference. The information in this video is shared for educational purposes and is based on guidance from doctors and health professionals. It is not intended to replace medical diagnosis or treatment. If you have underlying health conditions or are taking medication, please consult your doctor before making changes to your diet. If you see a part of yourself somewhere in George's story, it may be time to pay closer attention to your own muscles and overall health. And if you would like to continue hearing real-life stories like this, stay with the channel, because living well after 60 is not out of reach. It is a journey that can begin today.